Hello. Good to see you. Well, how was today? I would say today was pretty good, all things considered. It all started when I woke up at around 9:30 and I got some water. I was feeling pretty dehydrated. Used the restroom, went back to sleep, and then I woke up at around 10. I got a call on my phone from my car mechanic, and they confirmed that they had solved the problem and now my gas gauge is working again. So I'm very happy about that. I said thank you, so happy, appreciate that. And then I ended up being taken to the mechanic shop with my mom and our family friend. Our family friend drove us there and stopped by. We asked to see the fuel pump that they pulled out. They showed us. They told us the reason why it didn't work. The fuel gauge wasn't working was because a component was improperly put back in the vehicle when it was reintroduced, and because of that, it caused the vehicle to malfunction and not act as it was supposed to. Then we turned the key, and the car started just fine, and the gas gauge moved up, which was great. What was off though was we did see that the check engine light was still on. So we asked him about that. He said he was going to hook a device into the car computer to tell it to reset. And as he was doing that, we did a little bit of research on why the check engine light would still appear after the gas gauge is visible and the car's got a new fuel pump. And apparently the reason is like after the inside of the car's been, worked on, the car is unused to the new environment that or the new inside workings of it at first. So it apparently takes about 24 to 48 hours for it to run before the computer sets back to normal, apparently, is what Google Gemini told us, which I thought was very interesting. But anyways, he did reset the car computer, and the check engine light went away, which means that my car can get smog checked, and now I know how much fuel is in my car. So, two things that are very crucial that were rectified, thanks to us, wanting a proper job done. Our ride back home, my mom was telling me that she doesn't trust the mechanic now because she believes that they were trying to nickel and dime me or misdirect me or give me wrong direction. I did say when we arrived there, he said when I was asked about the fuel gauge, about whether it was working before I brought the car in, I said, well, when I started the car, the fuel gauge was a bit low, but that's because I hadn't put any gas in it in a while, and that's why it was low. I didn't say it was broke. I just said it was low, and that's all I said. He was like, oh, okay, well, the fuel gauge isn't working. I was like, what? And then when we took it in the other day and we were driving around and we're like, wait a minute, it was working before we sent it in. So clearly they did something that messed it up. So, when we brought in, my mom said, well, I drove the car with him on that day, or around the time before he brought it in, and the fuel gauge was working just fine. So you guys better, fix it. And so he said, well, when your mom said that, and I was like, well, clearly we did something that messed it up, so we gotta do that. So I just think the wording around that was kind of weird. I feel like maybe he thought that the fuel gauge wasn't working when I had the car brought in. So when they put the new fuel pump in and were testing it and the fuel gauge wasn't going up. He thought that that was probably already a problem inherent to the vehicle. But then my mom did some research and found that when a new fuel pump is put in, the fuel gauge should be immediately working because it's tied to how the fuel pump delivers signals to the fuel gauge. So, and apparently, like, there's a few things that indicate things to the fuel gauge on the car dashboard. So it was a bit of a spaghetti mess, and you know, part of me I want to give the mechanic the benefit of the doubt because they have worked on my car before and they have done a really good job and they have fixed up my car, and I really do trust what they've done. But my mom thinks that they were trying to take advantage of me by like giving me a vehicle that was half done and broken, uh, and she thinks that they were just taking money out of me because like I had low gas, and really they just fueled the gas back in and the car was running just fine. But when we arrived, we saw the fuel pump. I confirmed with my mom that no, the gas, there was still gas in there. It doesn't indicate that there's no gas in the pump, or it's low on gas, unless like there's a little gasoline symbol that lights up on the dashboard, which there was not at the time when my vehicle was not starting in that parking lot I was in. So overall, I want to say it was just some miscommunication, but at the same time, I think it is weird how he originally was going to give me my car back with that issue. And he even suggested, well, fixing that part of the dashboard could be very expensive and having to go back to another, you'd have to find another professional and it can cost as much as $300. And when I heard all that, like when we first got the car back, I was like, wait, what? But I took my car to you guys to get it fixed, and now you're telling me I have to take it to someone else to get a separate part fixed? That doesn't make any sense to me. So if it wasn't for my mom like questioning these things and bringing the car back and demanding, repair because the car was fine, the gauge was fine before, but then it got messed up when it was given back to us, and now it's fine again because I think they realized that maybe there was something they did wrong, so they reworked it, and now it's working just fine. That I got in today. It does create sort of a weird, uncertain environment that makes me definitely question, like, should I continue trusting this mechanic? And I don't want to say that because I've taken to them every other time when my car has had an issue, and they've done a very reasonable job at those other times. Works just fine. This is the one weird outlier where like something went wrong and it only was fixed when we confronted them about it, and then they went back to work and re-inspected and found the problem and then gave it to us without charging anything extra because I think they realized it was a mistake on their end. So, yeah. Overall, I'm happy that I have my car back. I'm happy that it starts without an issue now. I'm happy that it's running. But at the same time, it does, it does make me a little wary to return to this mechanic, which is a shame because, like, I think there's really good people who work there. I think that they like do good work, and I think that what they've done like my car in the past I've really appreciated, and like if it wasn't for them, like I wouldn't be having my car. So I appreciate them a lot for what the work they've done. It was just this one, particular incident where things just were a bit on the what's really going on side, like with the gauge not working. Like, why was I given my car back with my gauge not working? We only were able to get the problem solved when we confronted them about it, and they probably realized it was their fault and they fixed it. So, I mean, hey, at least they can they realized it was their fault. They fixed it at no extra charge, and now the car's back. But at the same time, it is weird that that even happened in the first place. But hey, I guess my mom says she recommends me to find another mechanic because she doesn't trust these guys anymore. Because why would they have me go through all of that? Um, I feel like next time my car has an issue like this happen, I'm going to just document everything, take pictures, label those pictures as what I'm taking, like, the dashboard and like, different parts of what that are related to what's happening with the vehicle. And then when I send to the mechanic, and if there's any funny business, I can just send them like a video of how things were. Like, here's a video of the car's, gauge working fine. So clearly, like it wasn't out. There was no issue with it before, but now there is after it's done. So I guess this is just a life lesson. If you're going to send your car to a mechanic and you just want to be sure that like they're gonna do a good job, and when they send the car back, you hope that they're not confused that like the problems they saw were like your fault or not. You need to document everything and show them so they know like, oh, what they're getting into. So if they do mess something up, they know that they're liable and that they'll fix it. That's what I've learned. Very long-winded story there, I guess. But I eventually returned home with my car. I was happy my car's working again, so that's great. And when I got into the house, I decided to have a bagel with butter and coffee, and I decided to watch the latest Nintendo Direct that just was released today. And is there anything that caught my eye that I was like, wow, I can't wait for this? Well, obviously the number one thing was the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. It's that game that constantly was praised online throughout my youth when I was watching YouTube videos about games and why games are like good and whatnot. And time after time, Ocarina of Time was always that one big Zelda title that would always be talked about. Like, look, this was incredible. This was a groundbreaking experience. Oh my gosh, it was awesome. And so I was like, all right. And I try to go back to it. And I think it's just because of the dated, like, mechanics or the way. Like, I find old N64 visuals quite charming, actually. There's something uniquely appealing about low poly graphics to my eyes. Like, I don't know why. I think it's because it kind of reminds me of, like, dioramas or, like, what do you call those, paper mache, or what's something else, like origami. Like, it just has more of a personal like touch to it because the developers were having to work within their means, whereas the more detailed and overly produced games have been getting in recent years, it definitely does make me appreciate how there was certain limitations that forced developers to work within the confines of the hardware they were developing on to get something that like was had a lot of charm and heart to it. So now seeing like and I think it's hilarious how I just said that like modern games are overly produced, but that's not true. It's just the nature of how hardware scales up, expectations scale up, people expect games to look better. And so, me being excited about this new Zelda Ocarina of Time isn't so much because, like, I mean, I haven't really played the original Ocarina of Time, if I'm being honest with you. I think that's funny. That was said, oh, I'm excited, but I've never played it. But I guess it really is just because I've watched a lot of videos about it, and people say it's great. But seeing a modern interpretation of the game with a unique cinematic angle on it, and it seems like Nintendo's doing this with a lot of their older games. Like They did it with Star Fox, that new Star Fox game that was announced, which is a remake of Star Fox 64. And they're doing it with Zelda Ocarina of Time. Um, it seems like they're really just leaning in hardcore towards nostalgia, people who are in love with those games and everything about them, and they want to make them for a more modern audience, I guess. And it's going to be interesting to see all that. Or other things that were interesting about the Nintendo Direct. What else? I guess it was there was a lot of like third-party games that were being announced for the hardware that was pretty impressive. Devil May Cry, the Kingdom Hearts trilogy. What else? Stellar Blade was a surprising one because that was like a touted as a PlayStation exclusive, and now it's coming to like Nintendo. I'm like, whoa! And then they showed off more footage of Kingdom Hearts 4 on the Switch 2, which was surprising to me because A, that's an Unreal Engine 5 game. So you're like, oh, they're getting a UE5 game running on a Switch 2. But B, um, the art style is significantly different from the previous titles, which had more cartoony aesthetic. This new art style definitely looks like they're leaning towards a more edgy adult aesthetic, which is very bizarre considering like you have cartoony Disney characters running around. Then you have a more realistically proportioned like Sora and people in the city. I don't really know why they're doing that. I think maybe it's because like they know that the only audience like that enjoys this series are people like who grew up with it when they were kids and are now in like their late 20s, early 30s. And so they're like, okay, we got to make it appeal to those people. What do they like? They like dark, edgy, adult-looking stuff, right? Let's just make this dark and edgy. But then now that's clashing with like the Disney characters. It's like I really don't know what why they're doing this, and also like wasn't the whole point of Kingdom Hearts 3 that was supposed to be like the end of the series? Why are they? I know why they're making a fourth one, money, but I mean, where can you really take the story from here? Honestly, it just seems like strange to me. I don't understand. Um, but I guess we'll see. I just think the art style's weird. Um, yeah. Um, Duskbloods looks awesome. I'm holding off and getting a Switch 2 for two main reasons. One, I want the landscape, the ecosystem Switch 2 to fully mature and have a huge offering of excellent titles when I eventually do decide to get it. Hopefully at a discounted price if that's possible. And number two, I want the OLED Switch 2 because an LCD on a Switch 2 that's supposed to have HDR compatible technology just seems like such a weird decision. I honestly don't know what they were thinking. So very odd. They should have just had an OLED from the gate, but I guess Nintendo likes opening their new devices, like launching their new devices with like the worst possible version before giving you the actual good version 2 or 3 years down the line. So yeah. But yeah, there was like a Fire Emblem game. I've never played Fire Emblem. There was like a Xenoblade trilogy is going to be on the Switch too, and a new Xenoblade game like is being worked on. So Xenoblade fans rejoice. I'm sure they're really happy about that. Personally, me, I'm like, okay. I mean, that's nice that this entire series of games are all available on one convenient platform at their absolute best at high resolutions and frame rates. So that's nice. So yeah. Well, anywho, yeah. After that whole presentation, yeah, it was a lot. I decided to finish off my watching experience with a congressional a UAP task force committee going up in front of a bunch of people on like stage with like a lot of like UAP related people like David Grush and um, Tim Burchett, and like yeah, a lot of other people who I've had to do with UAP disclosure and talking about technology and stuff like that. And it was basically James Fox was there, the director of independent UAP related documentaries, and they were all basically there just talking about how like they want transparency, they want protection for whistleblowers, and they want like the president to release the most obvious, like clear as day evidence for UAP craft and technologies that you've ever seen. So that's pretty much what was being shown, and yeah, well, I mean, I hope that does something at least. I really hope that we do get some footage, or sorry, or something of compelling evidence that shows that we are not alone, because that would be great. If we don't that, then like this was at all a waste of everyone's time. Anywho, after that, I got dressed and ready for work. Say goodbye to my mom, my sister. I left. I told them I loved them. I drove to work. I noticed my car. Oh my gosh! I completely forgot to mention this. I got a haircut today. I got a haircut between the time I arrived back from the automotive shop with my mom, and then um, I ate the bagel. Um, I watched a little bit of the direct, and after a little bit, then we went to get our haircut. I got my haircut by a very nice lady. She did a great job. Um, my mom was got her haircut too, and then we drove back home. And when we arrived home, um, what happened after that? Um, oh yeah, I continued watching the Nintendo Direct, and our family friend made a breakfast burrito, and I ate mine. I was pretty full from the bagel, but I still ate the burrito. It was egg, cheese, and bacon. I didn't really like the cheese in there for some reason. I felt it was too much, but yeah, maybe it's just because I was really full. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, then let's just jump back to the present where I drove to work. Car ride was very smooth, really nice. When I arrived, um, I got out, I punched in, I said hello to everybody. I got into my vest, and it was a nonstop busy day for some reason. Like it was just like bagging nonstop. It was taking orders out nonstop. It was punching in sweeps nonstop. Um, there was some sweeping of produce and the break room and the store floor. But yeah, it was just a lot happening all at once. It was crazy. I did do some breath work on my first break where I went upstairs and did some breathing exercises. I remember having like a vision behind my closed eyes of what looked to me like some kind of like manta ray line across like my vision. It looked like purple and bluish. That was kind of cool, I guess. I guess got deep into a breathwork meditation. It was pretty compelling. After that, I went downstairs. I went back to work, bagging and stuff like that. I then punched out. I then needed to take out the trash. Thing was outside for the first trash. It was fine. But the second trash outside, the trash bag had fallen into the trash bin. So I literally had to get a separate trash bag and then take all the trash that was in the trash bin out and throw it in the trash bag. And yeah, that wasn't great. And I used my bare hand to touch all that trash, and then I was so grossed out by it, I like washed my hand and then like put on some gloves and started doing that again, so I wouldn't have to touch all that nastiness. Um, yeah, and eventually like I tied everything and put it up on the U-boat, and it was good to go. I threw away all the trashes in the check stands, in the office room, um, in the bathrooms, in the break room, and yeah. Oh yeah, I refilled bags too. I also refilled bags very early on in my work shift, so that was interesting. Punched out for lunch. I found that deli had freshly made fried chicken, so I decided to have that. It was very good. Um, yeah, as I was eating that, I had some hot Cheeto fries as well as regular hot Cheetos with a Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. And I was watching a video by News Nation Ross Coulthart where he was talking with an investor who made a new UAP ETF fund because he's highly convinced that there's going to be some massive disclosure happening in the near future. So that'll be interesting to see how it plays out, I suppose. Yeah, and then after that, I remember I went downstairs, punched back in, took out the trash, refilled in the rest of the bags. Had to bag or needed to bag for customers. There was like an onslaught of customers late into the night. There was one customer. It was very strange. They were having difficulties knowing where to go, and they didn't know how to get to where they needed to go, and they seemed very confused. And they asked for like directions, and I opened up Google Maps and showed them exactly where they needed to go. But they kept on saying, "Well, I keep on forgetting what direction to go and how I need to get there." And they kept on asking for the same directions over and over again. It was like a really old lady. Some tells me they might have some form of like, you know, short-term memory loss or something. I don't know, but because they kept on asking the same questions over and over again. So yeah, it was sad. Eventually, one of our managers did call the police to help them out, so they could direct them on how to get to where they need to go. Yeah, so yeah, after that, I wiped down all the check stands. I wiped them down. It took a really short time to do that, like less than like 12 minutes. I don't know how I was able to do that. Normally, it takes me an hour to wipe each one, but not tonight for some reason. So yeah, wiped them down, uh, filled in the ads, um, um, did some go backs. I asked my manager for that night, co-manager for that night, if I could do the go backs, and they said yes. It's a new manager, by the way, a newcomer, relatively recent. So I did that, and yeah, I punched out, and I was good to go. So I went into my car. I drove home. I brought the trash bins up back into their holding unit because tomorrow's street sweeper day. And then I opened the door. I greeted my sister. She offered some food. I was like, I don't really feel hungry. Then I was taking my vitamins. I was going to take my magnesium powder, but I was like, I wonder what happened if I put this in a carbonated beverage like Sprite. So I got a Sprite from the back room, and I put it in a cup. And but then I realized, I kind of like having Sprite with something to eat. And those noodles that my sister made looked pretty good, so I asked her if it's all right if I could have some of those, and she said, yeah, go for it. So I had some of those with the Sprite. It was very good. And then I put the other half of the Sprite cup with the magnesium powder. I mixed it all fuzzed up and didn't properly fully mix in, which was kind of annoying. But yeah, overall it was decent, I suppose. I then brushed my teeth and decided to record this video. Yeah, as I was brushing my teeth, I was like listening to a podcast. I think it was Simmy and Jimmy on their review of the scary movie that just came out. So yeah, it's pretty funny. Well, anyways, it's pretty late, so I'm gonna go to bed now. Thank you for watching, And I will see you in the next one. Bye for now, and take care.